What's up guys, Carter here from Scarab Offroad Technologies, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install the SOT light kit on a 3rd gen 4Runner. Let's get into it. So coming over to this little table I have set up, we have everything laid out that comes in the kit, plus some tools that you'll need to install it. Some of these tools are optional, but I'll get into that in just one moment. The first component is, of course, the light itself. This is a 30-inch LED strip coming in at just under 1,000 lumens. Next up, we have our main wiring harness. This has the fuse, and then of course on the other end it connects to the light itself. Over here we have our positive connector, we have our negative connector with the little door jamb switch that auto turn on, auto turn off when you lift up the hood. And last but not least, we have our optional kill switch. Also, each kit comes with this additional bag of little goodies. This has zip ties and little mounts to basically mount up the wiring, and it comes with a couple extras of those. As far as tools for the install, you'll need a 12mm wrench. This is a socket which makes life a little bit easier, but any 12mm wrench will do. Here's a pair of gloves, totally optional, but this just keeps the job a little bit cleaner with all the dust in the engine bay. Some isopropyl alcohol as well as paper towels to clean off any dirty surfaces, and last but not least, optionally as well, a ruler, preferably one with millimeters. This is, like I said, optional, but it'll help for sure, and I'll show you that in just a second here. So, with all that out of the way, let's jump right into the install. So step number one is going to be the prep work. Now all we need to do to prep this is basically clean any surfaces that we're going to be mounting on that are dirty. Even if it doesn't look dirty, I'd highly recommend cleaning all this. So as far as mounting the main wire goes, that will be going along here. So I would recommend wiping down this entire surface right here. Now the second spot you'll need to wipe down is this whole strip right here. Just this area, the entire length of it. And that's where the light strip is going to be going, and just make sure to wipe down that entire thing to ensure good adhesion between the light and the truck itself. We've now got our gloves on, and let's go to work with this paper towel and some alcohol. When you're doing this, make sure really to go in depth and do this properly. I'll put up a little picture on the screen exactly how clean it should look versus how dirty it was before. But this step, especially up on the top, is very critical. If you don't do this step correctly and don't ensure that it's super clean, you'll have issues later. The components will fall off. So make sure to take your time and do this well now, and save the hassle later. Now to start off the install, we are going to be mounting up our main wiring harness. And of course this is the fuse here. What we're actually going to do is mount it upside down. That way it fits right in front of this bolt that holds on the fuse box. It fits very nicely, it doesn't interfere with the hood, and it gives room for this bullet connector that doesn't interfere with this bolt here. So we are going to take one of our little mounts here and place that right there on our freshly cleaned surface. Once your little sticky mount is on there nice and firm, you can take a zip tie, put that through horizontally, and we'll just basically wrap this around, making sure you go in between the slot between this little piece of plastic here and the wire. That way it holds it on and can't slip off. And then you can simply cinch down the zip tie. If you find it hard to fit with just one zip tie, feel free to take a second zip tie and daisy chain it together. And just put it in like this. And then do the exact same process. Wrap it around, and you should have a much easier time putting it in, and now you should just be able to cinch it up like we did before. Once you've secured the fuse in place, it's time to start routing your wire. Now to do this, you can route it however you want. I'm just going to do the cleanest way I've found, which is to go under this first bolt. Maybe a little bit hard to grab, but if you just feed that all the way back, should be able to grab it with your hand from the other side, under this first bolt, under this second bolt, and then you can pull this all the way through. Just like so. Now that we've gotten this wire under these first two bolts, it's time to route it to the top of the hood. Now to do that, we're going to use two more sticky mounts. One right here and one right here. If you can, it's very clean to put it through this hole and come out the top. Unfortunately, on most of these 4Runners, this little gap here is just too tight for this connector to fit through. So we're going to do it the other method. One sticky mount here, one sticky mount here. With the remainder of this wire, we'll just feed it up under the hood liner to the top of the hood. At this point, your wire should be coming out the top just like this, and we are ready to mount the main light. And with our prep work out of the way, this is super simple. All you have to do at this point is remove the sticky backing. That should peel right off, and it's time to mount this up. Now there are two things to keep in mind when doing this. The first thing is pretty obvious, which is keep this connector on the side that the wire's coming out so you can actually connect it up. The second thing is just to make sure it's centered. I'm just eyeballing it here, but it should be fairly easy to get it centered and make sure you have a nice even spread over the entire engine bay. Once you're happy with how it's lined up, just grab your finger, gently push it down, and then give it a nice solid press down across the entire length of it. Also, when installing the light bar itself, ensure that you either do it in warm temperatures, or if it's cold outside, make sure to take a heat gun and warm up your metal a little bit before you actually push this on. Otherwise, again, this won't stick properly. Once the light is securely on the vehicle, you can take this plug and simply plug it right in. Moving down into the engine bay, it's time to install our battery leads. To do this, I'm going to start with the positive. And I am basically going to take this 12mm wrench and crack that. Once that nut is off, you can take this and place that down right over there and simply screw this nut right back on from where it came from. Moving on to the other end now, you can feed this under whatever wires you want to keep it out of the way, like so, and plug it in to the light, just like that. Now moving on to the negative side slash push button. This side is a little bit trickier. As you can see, I have taken off the nut and lock ring, and all we're going to do is put this through this hole right here. Toyota put this in the perfect place. Thank you, Toyota. And this just slides through. Now the tricky part, and as you can see I've taken my gloves off because it makes it a little bit easier. The tricky part about this is you're going to put the lock ring on here, lock washer, and then the nut. Now before you actually go ahead and screw this in all the way, now is the time where we need our ruler. And what we're going to do with our ruler is we want to make sure this is at the correct height, so when depressed all the way, it's not going to interfere with anything down below, and it's not going to interfere with the hood. So the proper measurement for this is you want to push this all the way down, and when this is fully depressed, you want it to sit right at 16mm. And now you definitely have a little bit of wiggle room with it. You can go almost all the way up to 20mm before it starts interfering, but 16mm is what we recommend, just to have a couple extra millimeters of safe room to not squish the hood and for the hood not to squish this. Once you've properly measured this, you can go back and start screwing in your nut from the other side. Once the nut is hand tightened, it should be easy enough to just go ahead and pop this over and tighten it down the rest of the way. The lock washer on the other side should hold it in. If you have any trouble, however, it's pretty easy just to take another wrench, stick it on the other side, and hold that bottom nut while you tighten it from the top. At this point, you should be able to take your negative lead, plug it in, and have a functioning light. Just like that. Last but not least, however, if you have a kit with one of these kill switches, it's time to install that. And this is super simple. All you have to do is take off your negative lead, plug this in where the negative lead would go, and on the other end, you plug the negative lead into the kill switch. And then, as you can see, when you press the kill switch, it turns it off, turns it back on again. On the back, you have sticky backing, so we're just going to peel this off, just like so. And you can mount this anywhere along this surface that we already cleaned in the first step. There we go. Well guys, that brings us to the end of the install for the Scarab Offroad Tech Underhood Lighting Kit. If you've done everything correctly, all your switches should be working, and you should be a happy camper. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hope this video helped you. If you have any further questions or any issues with your light kit, anything like that, feel free to go to our YouTube page. Under the About section, you will find our email. Otherwise, you can find us on Instagram at Scarab Offroad and send us a DM there. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you learned something today, and we'll catch you in the next one.